Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the Great Movie Ride Podcast.
Hey.
Woo. Me and Jerryofdom again. I'm your host, Gaston. Right?
I'm Jerryofdom.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
We're going to be continuing the Jurassic period with Jurassic Park 3. This was your favorite Jurassic film growing up, right?
Yep.
It was the Ion Pudge's favorite as well. Tyler
Mm,
Define, whatever you want to call him. It's his
yeah.
favorite as well. He loved the Spinosaurus.
Yeah.
But
I
more
did
on
too.
that in a little bit. Um, if you enjoy this stuff and you're watching it at a place that allows it,
Yeah.
subscribe, follow, and all those things. It's on YouTube if you're watching
Do
it there.
thingies.
Do thingies, yeah. And of course, this is brought to you by the Gmod Squad. Make sure to check that out on Twitch, Gmod Squad Presents, and YouTube. Um, would you like to start because you're so excited for this one with your previewing thoughts going into it?
Uh, well, I was excited to see it again. It's like good memories. Dinosaurs going bite bite and chomp chomp, but it's a good time. I was excited. That's about it.
Well, so for me, this film was my second favorite of the original trilogy, third overall. Um, but obviously 2015 is when Jurassic World came out. So growing up, there was just the three films, and this is my second favorite because you can't top the original.
No.
And I know that it has flaws. I knew that. But going into this viewing, I was like, well, The Lost World is a bit of a mixed bag with me, so I'm looking forward to watching Jurassic Park 3. Especially because having just reviewed The Lost World, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, so I'm like, hey, maybe this will be a great time.
Mhm.
You will hear what I have to say about this movie as we progress.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
This one will probably be the biggest difference between our ratings.
Okay.
So our light spoilers plot sum up. When their child goes missing on Isla Sorna, divorced couple Paul and Amanda Kirby trick paleontologist Dr. Alan Grant, the hero from the first film, into helping them find their son on the island. When an accident strands them on the island, they have to deal with a new threat with no way out.
Bam bam.
With all that being said, let's go to the characters, starting with
Bam.
Dr. Alan Grant, once again
Hey.
portrayed by Sam Neill. And he's still a paleontologist and dinosaur expert who is tricked into going to Isla Sorna. Um, do you want to start or do you want me to start? It
You
does.
sir.
The Return of Grant is a welcome sight. The movie handles him pretty well too,
Mhm.
in my opinion. Like he feels different than the first film, but it's like a logical progression after the events of Jurassic Park, Isla Nublar, where he's at now. Like there's a line I really like with I liked your first book more before you were on the island. You liked dinosaurs then. They hadn't tried to eat me yet. I liked that a lot. And it's so in the context it makes sense. It's like Malcolm's progression in the Lost World, but done even better with
Yeah.
Grant. I've got some gripes about the writing and the characters in this film, but none of them are leveled at Grant. He's still great, iconic cinema hero. Looking
He's
forward to
he's
seeing him
pretty
in
good.
Dominion.
Yeah, I enjoyed him in this one again. I like when he's giving the presentation, and they're like, "So, any questions?
Does
Any
anyone have?
questions now regarding Jurassic Park?"
And then like all the hands go down.
And he's just like, "All right," but it again, he's still interested in Velociraptors, even though they tried to eat him.
True. All right. So our next character we're going to talk about is Paul Kirby, who's portrayed by William H. Macy. He's a businessman who is divorced. His son Eric is lost on Isla Sorna, making him use subterfuge to assemble a team to infiltrate the island and find him. Take her away.
I forgot how, like, I remember him, but I didn't remember exactly how everything, because again, when you're a little kid, you're like, dinosaur. And now I'm actually paying attention to what things are happening. I'm like, oh, okay. Um, and it was interesting how he worked in the film, and I think he wasn't a bad character because it was like throwing a civilian onto this like jungle island full of dinosaurs. When he did was pretty understandable.
Yeah, Paul Kirby, he's a bit of an idiot. but he's played pretty well. I like him a lot. Most of the humor involving him lands pretty well as well.
Yeah.
And I like the character. He's probably my favorite character in the film. He's close. He's like tied with another character. And of course Grant. But
Yeah.
there's another character to talk about who I might like even more than Mr. Kirby. But I do like him. And his path in the film of rising to the occasion to be a father and taking on those risks, it makes sense. And I do like Paul Kirby.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Amanda Kirby, who's portrayed by Tia Leone, Paul's ex-wife and Eric's mom, who also goes to the island. And I get to start with this one. So let me just say, I am sorry, Sarah Harding. I was too harsh on you. You're not as bad as I thought. This is the worst female protagonist by far. She just screams. That's it. She makes... Sorry. She does one other thing. She makes terribly dumb decisions and is super annoying. She makes Nick Van Owen from The Lost World look smart. Nick Van Owen! You all heard what I had to say about him last time.
She is just a civilian on the island. But still, there's got to be some sense in you to not start screaming on this dinosaur island.
I do not like Amanda
I've
Kirby.
got a megaphone. This will be completely fine. What are you doing?
I do not like Amanda Kirby at all.
She's quite frustrating. And she literally, something that really annoyed me is that she gets that blood splatter on her face from the other dude, and the entire movie never wipes it off or nothing.
Mm.
It's just there, and I'm like, if someone's blood just fell on me, I'd try and get that off. I would just go, anyways. She was a frustrating character.
Yeah. She might be my least favorite or close to it of the whole franchise so far. So let's talk about Billy Brennan, who's portrayed by Alejandro Nivola, Dr. Grant's assistant who majors in paleontology. He accompanies Grant to the island. Take her away.
I like Billy. There's a few things that make you really annoyed, but it's like I'm looking at him like, you know what? This seems like something I might do. You know, the type of stupid decisions that I'm like, I can relate to doing that. Trying to look like a big hero, then getting thrown into a river. You know, all these eggs, I'm gonna take them. You know, there's these different things that I'm like, yeah, that's pretty reasonable. But they're also like frustrating. But it felt more like a real life decision, even though a lot of people be like, "What's wrong with you?" Like, yeah, it's pretty reasonable.
Billy is a surprisingly likable character, and I say it's surprising because he makes one of the ultimate bonehead plays in the franchise. It may be the dumbest decision ever made, but I'm remembering a certain scene in Fallen Kingdom that'll probably make me change my tune. But it's one of the ultimate bonehead plays, but more on that later. But Nivola injects him with so much charisma that he remains a good character. He's certainly flawed. He's no genius, but he's a solid character for the franchise, and he feels like he fits in the Jurassic Park franchise.
Yeah, he felt like a Jurassic Park character.
Yeah. So now let's talk about Eric Kirby, who's portrayed by Trevor Morgan, Paul and Amanda's son, who has been missing on the island for 8 weeks. Eric, fortunately, in my opinion, falls more in line with Lex and Tim than Kelly. Being forced to survive for 2 months alone, he's street smart and he makes good decisions. I didn't notice a single decision he made that was dumb.
No.
Like, sure, some things don't work out, but that's not the same thing as making a dumb decision.
Yeah.
Ed Morgan plays him perfectly well. There's no complaints. I don't have much praise to offer, but no complaints.
He was a character that's there, and he's what pushes the plot because that's why they're there.
He's the plot
At
hook.
the same time, like he was a good character. It wasn't anything.
No complaints from me.
No.
Okay. So now let's talk about Udesky, who's portrayed by Michael Jenner. He is a booking agent who is hired by the Kirbys to hire 3 mercenaries. After one gets sick, he goes to the island in his place.
These guys frustrate me. And we're gonna start off with him. He was funny in the movie. And now that I actually know that he's a booking manager, you know, the whole reason he's there, I don't know how he's able to use a weapon. It makes 0 sense. Then again, it's not like we ever see him use it.
Nope.
The way he died. We're gonna move on.
I actually have the different take. I really like Udesky. I think his dialogue and writing is the best in the film. He feels the most to me like somebody who was thrown onto this island and not knowing about the situation.
Mm,
He is. See, the Kirbys are ignorant to the danger. As soon as the danger happens, Udesky is immediately aware of it. And
yeah,
he never makes a dumb decision. He only ever makes the intelligent choice, like ditching his backpack to run faster. And
maybe it was a little harsh.
you're welcome to your opinion, but I will defend Udesky. He is the one who might be my favorite in the film. He has some great lines. I love when the Kirbys are arguing and he's walking beside Billy. And Billy's like, if we split up, I'm going with you guys. And I also love the when Grant and Billy they're heading for the coast and they're like, but they're not looking for Eric. What do we do? And Udesky, well, we look for your son in the direction that they're going. Like I really like Udesky.
Yeah,
He's funny. He's smart. He feels like a Jurassic Park character, in my opinion. I do wish there was more of him, but the movie has a runtime issue that we'll talk about a
yeah,
bit later. Which brings us to Cooper, who's voiced by John DL, one of the mercenaries hired by the Kirbys to protect them on Isla Sorna. And I get to go first. So Cooper is the Robert Muldoon, Roland Tembo of this film, the guy with the big gun who's ready for fight. Unlike the former duo, he is not experienced with animals and he's not very smart.
yeah,
He's a one-note character who is only included on this list because the film has a very small cast.
yeah.
I don't like him.
No,
He serves a basic purpose and then he's done.
I did not like it. I didn't like the mercenaries. Udesky, I have a bit of a problem with, but
I like
when
Udesky.
you brought up all the points you did, I don't actually have a problem with them. It's just because I mixed them in with the mercenaries.
I like Udesky.
But I hated the mercenaries.
Is that all you're gonna say about
Yeah,
it?
that's all I gotta say.
So next up is Nash. He's voiced. Wow, he's played by Bruce A. Young. Dude, voice him too. He's the other mercenary hired by the Kirbys, who is also a pilot. You get to express your opinion on Nash.
Okay. Cooper I hate a lot more. Him, I still hate him, but he's not as bad, I guess. He had some pretty human reactions, but at the same time, like, why'd you land the plane? Why'd you do these things? If you're hired for this, you should probably be aware of where you're going and not to land on an island full of dinosaurs. You're clearly seeing that out your window, but you're like, you guys see anything? No.
Trying to put it down.
Ugh.
Nash is kind of there. He
Yeah.
exists. He has a few scenes, more than Cooper, but somehow has less personality than Cooper. He
hmm
exists. And yet I like him more than Cooper. um so that brings us to our final character to talk about, Ellie Sattler, portrayed by Laura Dern once again, paleobotanist and longtime friend of Grant. She is married and has a child in this film, but not with Grant. Um, so it's my turn. So Ellie, it's really only an extended cameo in the film, but like I said,
Yeah.
small cast. And for what we see of her, she is still the great Ellie Sattler. Laura Dern's performance is solid. I wish she was
Feel
in
so
there more.
frustrated that she didn't end up with Grant. It bothers me
Well,
to
we'll
this day.
we'll see if Dominion fixes it.
They better say that her husband gets eaten by a dinosaur Dominion or something. Come on.
Whoa there.
But her son, I like her son.
Yeah,
He's pretty cool.
Tyler.
Yeah.
Like the kid's name's Charlie, but that was Tyler when he was little. Even looks like him.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I no problems with Laura Dern, and look forward to seeing her in Dominion. Hopefully, she
I
has
just
more
annoyed
to
that
do.
she didn't end up with Grant. But other than that, great character.
So let's talk about the effects and the cinematography. And the effects in this film are mostly solid.
They've really upgraded in this film, I noticed.
High praise again goes to the sheer amount of practical effects and animatronics in the film. Most of the Spinosaurus sequences were actually filmed with the animatronic.
Really?
Yeah,
So is that big?
yeah, it's huge. But
Oh.
notice you can tell when it's an animatronic shot because it doesn't show the whole body.
Mhm.
But that is most of its thing. Like even with the plane, that was the animatronic.
Because you can see it in the little window,
Mm-hmm.
like when he's about to, and then it's just like, and then it goes down.
Yeah.
But I really liked a lot of it, and the CGI got a lot better in this film.
Yeah, the CGI looks pretty good. There's just a couple scenes that it looked iffy to me. Like there's a one shot where the raptor, when they're running, it doesn't look that good, and specifically when the one's climbing the gate,
Yeah.
when they're leaving it behind. Like at the first part, not really a problem. When they're leaving it behind, and they have that wide angle shot. Then you could tell it was CGI. Kind of ruins the immersion.
Yeah.
And as we were talking about the other day, the easel sort of Brachiosaurus that looks like a
I
kite.
don't think it was as I can see what you're saying. I don't think it was as bad as I was expecting.
I thought it looked bad because
I
it didn't look
think
real to me.
no,
It was
they
moving
are
too
also
much.
dinosaurs.
Yeah, but it's supposed to look real. Like that scene looks great at first, but it's
Yeah.
when they zoom in on it. The head was
I
fine.
feel
It
like
was the
if we
body I
were
had a problem with.
paying attention to CGI and all that as much as we used to, I feel like it wouldn't have been a bother. But now that we really
we,
nitpick things,
we
yeah,
analyze all this.
we really gotta handle these things now.
The cinematography continues to be strong.
Yeah.
This franchise does it well. There's some truly epic shots, and
You know what my favorite shot is? Is when they hear the phone and they meet up at the fence, and then the Spinosaurus is standing there.
mm,
That is like my favorite like shot of it just looking at them.
mm.
And you just hear the phone going. Mhm.
um, what one thing that I will say is the framing of the pteranodon sequence and the shot selection is so perfect that it
Oh yeah.
really elevates that scene.
Yep.
Um, so let's transition to the writing and score. The writing is not
Or
good.
mhm.
Straight up, much of the dialogue is clunky. The plot has contrivances like The Lost World did. Some characters are decently written. I like Grant, Paul Kirby, Eric Kirby, and Udesky. The rest of the cast really is not well written,
No.
like at all. The
I
writing,
think the biggest thing in the writing that I don't like is when they notice the boats at first, but they don't see the cage,
hmm,
and the boats are right next to the cage. And we never really clued in on
that's
how
true.
big the cage is because when they leave it, it looks like it was just a dome. But when they're in it, it looks like it's built across the canyon.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
true.
I'm like, okay, so what is the cage? How what?
um, one thing that I will definitely say is that the writing doesn't seem to know what type of movie it wants to be.
Yeah.
Two sequences are much better than the rest of the film, that to the point where it feels like it was written by somebody else.
Yeah.
And that is entirely possible because there's 3 writers credited and multiple drafts for this film.
Oh boy.
And I'm a preface this and explain later, but the ending is garbage. But more on
Yeah.
that later. Anything else you wish to say about writing before we switch to score?
I yeah, not much more to say. Yeah. It was to me it wasn't horrible, but it was meh.
I think it was worse than The Lost World for writing.
Yeah, I don't know.
The score is a letdown. No John Williams, no epic score. The theme doesn't even play. It does not do it for me. I had to double check. I'm like, did they play the Jurassic Park theme? I look at nope. Boo! Not impressed. The standard was so high for the previous films with what 1 and 2 do so well as their score. I can't even recall a single score piece in 3. Lost World in the first one easily comes to mind, especially with the iconic dun 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 dun.
They played it at the end when the
Credits doesn't count for the score.
pterodons are flying away in the sky.
That's not actually it. That's an excerpt from a different song. I looked it up. I'm not impressed.
What the crap?
Uh, you can say your piece on the score.
I I didn't realize what they did, and I
I'm
thought, oh,
disappointed.
this is pretty, you know. And then you pointed out, like, oh,
I'm disappointed.
never mind. Guess it wasn't as good as I thought. I do like the Spinosaurus scenes with the music,
Uh,
and the music during the pterodon scene.
the tension built in that scene is really
Yeah.
well done.
Yeah.
Okay. Warning, warning. Heavy spoilers ahead. Here we go.
Huh.
12-year-old Eric Kirby and his mother's boyfriend Ben Hildebrand, the most basic name since John Smith, go parasailing over the ocean near Isla Sorna. The boat's crew is killed by an unknown attacker, this is never explained, prompting Ben to detach the line before the vessel crashes into rocks. Eric and Ben drift towards the island. Chunk 1. Boom.
I think they're trying to hint at that it was the Spino that did it,
Couldn't have been.
but I'm like, that makes zero sense.
It couldn't have been the Spino, because the Spino's still in his cage at the start of the film.
Right. I
Why
forgot
there's
about
an
that.
airstrip in his cage? I don't know.
Why is his cage so freaking big? Why is there a T-Rex in his cage? Why is there all these parasaurs? Who knows?
It's not a very well written film.
No, that is like a ginormous cage with a lot of other things in it.
There has been several theories about what the attacker was. The majority of the Jurassic Park fandom thinks it was the pterodactyls, the pteranodons, but that
But
also
that makes.
doesn't make sense.
But at the same time, the movie contradicts itself from the second one because in the second
You
one at the
see
end you
them
see the
free.
attack. But then again, they called this island Site B.
Well, it's the same island from the Lost World, Isla Sorna.
But when you look at the map of the island, it's like two pieces kind of that are together.
True.
And I think there's Site A and Site B, and there's two different sides of it.
Well, Site A is Isla Nublar.
Okay.
Yeah, but there could be a separation like that, likely where the Pteranodon enclosure is, I would imagine, with the river going through.
Yeah.
But, because, like, think about it as a zoo design. If you were to walk to one side of the zoo to the other, you go through the aviary.
Yeah.
Why not? It'd be an interesting choice. That actually bugs me more than I thought it would, the fact that they never explain what happened. Because if it were the Spinosaur, there wouldn't be a boat, as is demonstrated later in the film.
Yeah.
And if it were the pterodactyls, they would have went for the guys up in the air before the guys along the surface of the water. That bugs me.
It's
What
a
I'm
mosasaur.
yeah. Since we're in the heavy spoilers, I will just say this: the movie isn't as scary as the previous ones, and it should have been scarier. I think with the Spinosaurus.
There was some pretty scary scenes though.
Only
Though
one comes to mind.
overall, I think that plane sequence at first, when you don't know what's really going on first, and then you figure out what it is, it's not scary anymore.
I thought the pterodactyl
The
Pteranodon sequence was
pterodactyl,
well done.
that
But
was like the spookiest scene. But
I,
even then, I get what you're saying.
I think it's because the cast is so small.
Mhm.
Literally, the people who are going to die, we're not going to name them just yet, but the people who are going to die, you know they're going to die as soon as you see them. You know who it's going to be. They almost subverted expectations with one character, but then he's still okay, he's just injured. So it's like...
Look
Whereas
at the second one, and they just went for this massive kill count.
The Lost World kills off at least 35 people. And the first one, fan favorite characters drop. Samuel L. Jackson, Robert Muldoon. You felt that nobody was safe. This one, it's like, oh, they're invincible now.
Yeah.
Anyway. 8 weeks later, paleontologist Dr. Alan Grant has discovered the intelligence of velociraptors in the form of a resonating larynx, but he struggles to secure funding for his research because people don't care. Grant discusses his discovery with a longtime colleague and former partner, Ellie Sattler. This and his experiences on Isla Nublar leads him to believe that velociraptors were socially sophisticated. He hypothesized that if they had not gone extinct and continued to evolve, their descendants, rather than humans, would have become Earth's dominant species. His assistant, Billy Brennan, uses a 3D printer to replicate the velociraptor larynx and stores it in his bag. Chunk 2.
I think this was an interesting thing that they did in it. But is it actually accurate to real life with the dinosaurs? Do velociraptors actually have this?
I don't know, because
Oh,
the Velociraptors of Jurassic Park are not based off the real Velociraptors.
yeah.
Because there was like the big understanding shift that Velociraptors were actually like 3 feet tall and feathered.
Yeah.
The Jurassic Park Velociraptor was based off a Deinonychus skeleton that they thought was
Mm,
Velociraptor. So
okay.
I don't know. I just
Okay.
don't know.
Mm,
That's what
all right.
Dinobot from Beast Wars is based off of, the Jurassic Park Raptor.
Yeah.
Specifically the
Yeah.
one from Lost World, like if you look at the color scheme.
Hmm. Even
Um,
though did Beast Wars come out in
oh, fair point. Did the Lost World base it off of Dinobot? Anyway. Um, Paul and Amanda
it,
Kirby. Oh, go ahead.
I just there was a few I thought it was interesting that they have this printer now thing to make it, but at the same time, like, then why don't you just print bones
Yeah.
and stop digging?
I don't have much of a problem with the whole opening. I think it was an interesting setup.
It was, and
It,
I like Cooper, or not Cooper, Charlie.
should change your mind on Cooper like that, eh?
No,
Paul and Amanda Kirby, a seemingly wealthy couple, offer to fund Grant's research if he gives them an illegal aerial tour of Isla Sorna.
this irritated me
It bugs
so
me too.
much. I'm like, you can't just lie about this. Like, if they go back home, and Alan and Greg could go, okay, so both of you are getting arrested for what you just did.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything that they did was very illegal.
Oh yeah. Well, it's even with Udesky. He told us we did something down the island. Yes, but I did not tell you to kidnap somebody.
Hmm.
And like,
Like, maybe that's why we never see him again.
well, it's like the 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 brilliance of these characters sometimes baffles me.
I can't believe it sometimes. Maybe
Like,
that's why they can be a kids movie too, because these guys are real idiots.
make the kids feel smart.
Yeah.
Because like even like this is my one complaint about Grant in this film as well, is he's quoted as saying, "No force on heaven or earth can get me to set foot on that island until a check is written." And then he's like, "Ah, never mind. My principles mean nothing after all." Like
Well, I
I
think he thought that they wouldn't be landing on it.
yeah, I get that he was tricked and all, but it still feels like it's not. I don't have as huge problem as a lot of other people do. Like this is a
Yeah.
huge contention point with
I
Jurassic Park
felt a
fans.
little like this is a little odd.
It's a
I
little out
understand
of
they need
character.
funding and stuff, but I'm like,
Well, it's literally
hmm,
the same motivation for Jurassic Park 1, funding for the
yeah.
dig, but it's like you just said no force on heaven or earth. Did you forget money existed? Like what's going on here?
Oh my God, it was Alan. Come on.
I don't hate it as much as a lot of other people do, but it's just kind of like it's just
It
weird.
was a little like, but I wasn't like,
Yeah, it's not a huge thing for me. So Grant reluctantly agrees and flies there with Paul, Amanda, Billy, Kirby's mercenary associates, Udesky, and Cooper, and their pilot Nash. Unfortunately, Grant learns that the Kirbys plan to land. He protests, but Cooper knocks him unconscious, with one blow apparently, because that's realistic.
I think if you hit properly, maybe.
Do you honestly believe Cooper is capable of doing anything properly?
No.
Although, the one thing that does make me chuckle is his excuse. How do you know the Kirbys? Through our church.
Yeah.
I do like that line, but um,
Oh, there is one scene. Wait, when they're on the plane and
the
Han
dream
falls
sequence.
asleep. Yep.
We're gonna have to talk about that because this is a point that the fans hate.
Really?
Yeah, they hate it, and I don't quite understand why. Because like this,
I
it's
don't get why.
ridiculous. They're ridiculous that a raptor talks. It's like, yeah,
It's a
but it's a
dream.
dream. It's not like it actually happened. The raptors didn't start speaking English, so I don't quite understand that one.
Yeah.
But that's a huge. That's one of like the cited reasons for why it's terrible. Is that dream sequence? It's like the dream sequence is 2 seconds, and it's a dream. So
Yeah.
I don't really get that one. Grant awakens and realizes that the plane has landed. While establishing a perimeter, like you do, the three mercenaries are approached by a Spinosaurus. Nash and Udesky board the plane to escape, leaving Cooper behind to fend for himself. Because even they realize Cooper's an idiot who doesn't run away.
I just want to pause how the way you mentioned how the Spinosaurus approaches, and I imagine like has a briefcase is wearing a suit. It's like, what are you guys doing in my area?
No, it's like approach the youth casually.
He's got his like arm on the side. He's like prancing over. Like, what are you guys doing here?
Hey y'all, how's it going? Just as they prepare to lift off, the Spinosaurus emerges on the runway and devours Cooper. Om nom nom. Then Nash, who decided to spend more time on the ground necessary for a plane of that size, I actually looked it up to complain about that, pulls up too late and smashes into the Spinosaurus. And the plane is sent careening off into the forest and goes through a couple trees. Goes to one of my favorite lines when Grant opens the door and they're suspended above the ground. He just closes the door. We haven't landed yet. I do like that line. The massive animal tears through the plane's fuselage and eats Nash. That's right. The red shirts die in like 2 minutes.
Yep.
Who has Paul's satellite phone. It's a surprise tool that'll help us later. The other survivors take advantage of the distraction and flee, only to encounter Tyrannosaurus. This part is actually sad for me.
Really?
That Tyrannosaurus is the baby from the Lost World.
Really?
Same pattern, intended by the director. As they retreat in the opposite direction, they are again confronted by the Spinosaurus, who fights our former baby Rex and kills it, giving the group enough time to press deeper into the jungle.
No, I'm sad.
Dinosaur on dinosaur fight was cool, but the fact that it was the baby.
No, just making a different T-Rex.
And the other thing I'm gonna say.
No, that fight was like one of the more epic dinosaur fights because we don't really get dinosaur fights in Jurassic Park.
Well, we do now.
We do now.
But... It was really the first film had. We've had dinosaur fights, but this one was pretty special. It looked good, which was cool. But what I am gonna say is, I do agree with the fan complaint of the Spinosaurus killing the Rex. The Rex is the face of the franchise. Literally, it is the logo. Yeah. Having the Spinosaurus kill it, I understand why fans were upset. I'm kind of upset, because the Rex is... Like, sure, maybe the Spinosaurus would have won in real life, but the Rex is, in my opinion, cooler than the Spinosaurus. The roar, everything about it. I know you like the Spinosaurus, but I
Once
like
I
the
knew
Rex.
that it's the baby, I'm very disappointed that
I like the Rex.
What happened to the baby?
Grant confronts the Kirbys, which is the best transition ever from the Rex roaring to a punch being sounded. You see Paul fall back against a tree. And then Grant just like cracking his knuckles like he's ready to go again. And they tell them that they are, in reality, a middle-class divorced couple searching for their son Eric and Amanda's boyfriend Ben, who has gone missing on the island. Unfortunately, government agencies decline to help the Kirbys, and they're surprised for some reason. So they deceive Grant and brought him along as an expert because of his past at Jurassic Park. To their dismay, Grant reveals that he's only been to Isla Nublar, not Isla Sorna, and as such, is just as lost as they are. This is where Udesky begins to shine. He stops being a red shirt in this moment and becomes a character.
I like the part where they're like telling them that they're like these bath people that do like your back splash.
Yeah.
So I can do that, guys, for you afterwards. You'll hold on me.
If you ever need a reno or some tile. I also love the dawning realization on Udesky with that was Isla Nublar, this is Isla Sorna. There are 2 islands with dinosaurs on them.
Just about everyone else in the fandom, like, what?
Well, that was a reaction during the Lost World. This isn't news anymore, but yeah, there's 2 islands with dinosaurs on them. So the group looks for Eric and Ben. Well, half the group does. While Billy and Grant make for the coast. They follow them. They find Ben's parasol and his corpse attached to it. They do not explain what happened to him.
Nope.
And no answer would be satisfying to me, because it's not been long enough for him to have died.
Yeah.
In fact, for him to still be up there, he would have had to have been killed immediately after dropping Eric. Because otherwise Eric wouldn't have just left him behind. But it couldn't have been the Spinosaurus, because there wouldn't be bones.
Yeah, there
That's
wouldn't
been
be a
proven.
tree.
And it can't be the Pteranodons, because it's below the tree level.
And it couldn't be
the Rex.
the raptors.
There would be no bones.
Yeah, it couldn't be the raptors because he's up in a tree.
And while raptors can jump, the sail wouldn't be intact because there's nothing else for them to grab onto.
Yeah,
They don't explain this.
He starved to death?
But then why would Eric just leave him? It would have to have happened immediately after for Eric to just go bye.
Eric went teenager mode and left him.
Maybe. They never give a good answer. They fold the parasail and continue stumbling. Oh yeah, the parasail's intact in case you missed that part.
Oh,
so,
no.
Which, you know,
Why isn't it?
I'm fine with it being intact if it didn't make how he died a freaking mystery. Because if it were destroyed, all of a sudden becomes, oh, okay. They were got by something. Instead, it's just...
How'd he die?
Same thing with the boat. It's like...
He suffocated trying to get out of the tree.
I bet, I do bet that there is a version of this script that explains these things. But like I said, 3 different drafts combined into one resulted in this movie. I did a lot of research on that because it's like, this is just so different.
Random.
And not the way it should be. So they fold the parasail, because that's a surprise tool that'll help us later, and continue stumbling until they find a colony of raptor nests by complete chance. Dun dun dun. More on that later. Further ahead, they enter an abandoned InGen compound, which, I did not know this until rewatching it, it is the same compound that Malcolm, Kelly, Harding, and Nick Van Owen are in at the end of The Lost World.
That makes no sense then.
Well, it does make sense that there would be that on the island. In fact, they even focus on the Jeep where Malcolm was hiding in with the broken window. And the doors they go through are the same ones that Nick Van Owen leads them through to get to the helicopter.
Oh.
Like, it does, it's a nice bit of continuity. I'm not complaining about that inclusion. That is a nice bit of continuity.
No, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I like that.
And explains why there's raptors there, too.
Yeah, because it's their territory, as was previously established. They must have just come from a different direction, would be my guess. Where are we? Right, the InGen compound. A lone raptor... Now I've got to complain about this. A lone raptor ambushes Amanda and pursues the rest of the group deeper into the compound. This is one thing I absolutely despise about this film. On more than one occasion, the dinosaurs stop being animals and start being characters. What do I mean? They wait for the dramatic reveal. There is no reason why this raptor would, not blinking, not moving, freeze in place. They're only to jump scare the audience. There is no reason that should happen. None of the other movies did it. They did real jump scares, like the Rex approaching with the in the first film. Yep. I hate it, and they do it again, and it bugs me. I hate it. So I will complain about that.
Yep.
Hate that. But after Billy and Amanda trap it, and honestly, I don't have a problem with how they trapped it. I understand why some people complain, but it was no longer tethered to the ground, so it's just, you just gotta move it. It doesn't have any resistance. I don't mind that. But he summons the rest of its pack by calling for help. Grant leads the lot into a herd of Corythosauruses and Parasaurolophuses, causing a stampede, and separating Grant and Udesky from the others. You see where this is going, I assume. The raptors trap Udesky and attempt to lure Paul, Amanda, and Billy from their place in a tree. So they heavily injure Udesky, but leave him alive to try and lure the others in. When I was a kid, I didn't understand what was happening. When they said they set a trap, I thought the raptors somehow moved his arm. That's just what little Peter thought. I now get that he was still alive, trying to move. And Udesky, of course, the raptors almost get Amanda when she tries to help Udesky, but they stay up in the tree, and before departing, they snap Udesky's neck. They don't even eat him.
No.
He deserved better.
Yeah.
He was like Eddie Carr for me. Not quite as likable. No, nowhere near as likable as Eddie Carr. But same thing. He deserved better.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing. We're at like the 40-minute mark of the film when Udesky dies.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd be like, dang, man, all the red shirts are dead and there's still almost 2 hours left in the movie. Well, that's where you're wrong. This movie is stupidly short. More on that later.
Mm-hmm.
Still too early to lose all your red shirts, but still.
Yeah.
Elsewhere, Grant observes the raptors communicating. He suspects that they are searching for something. Grant tries to slip away, but the raptors corner him. Eric dramatically appears and distracts the raptors with canisters of gas and brings Grant away to an overturned supply truck where he has lived for his stay on the island. He does not explain what happens to Ben. The next day, Grant and Eric reunite with Billy and the Kirbys after Eric hears his dad's satellite phone ringing. The Spinosaurus, still digesting the phone, appears and chases the group, but they get away by locking themselves inside an abandoned observatory. Here's my next rant.
Why doesn't the Spinosaurus go?
Exactly. Like you said, you love that shot where they turn around and he's looking at
that
him. And it's a
shot where
good
he's
shot.
looking at-
It's a good shot.
Makes
But
zero sense,
it's
though.
the same thing with the raptor. Wait for the dramatic thing. Wait for them to turn around. No, these are animals.
Yeah.
It's the same complaint with the raptor. There
Or
is
maybe
no
he's
reason.
looking to go to the bathroom. He's like, what the?
There's no reason for him to wait. And I hate it. And then the other thing, it destroys its fence. Like, just straight up destroys it. But can't be a wooden door with a few metal pieces across
And
it.
even the ceiling, because
It makes no sense. It's a nice tense sequence. Does not hold up to scrutiny at all. Oh.
And did you mention about the Billy getting the raptor eggs?
Well, they haven't revealed that yet.
No,
There.
you see him grab the eggs.
You don't see him grab the eggs. He's left behind the group and he comes walking up. And where were you?
No.
I was photographing the nest.
Oh.
Yeah. I did do the da. We'll talk about that later. So here we go. Grant, suspicious of Billy, checks the young man's bag and finds that he took 2 raptor eggs from the nest to use for funding, which is why the raptors are after them.
Yep.
Grant decides to keep the eggs to ensure that the raptors, provoked by this theft, will continue to chase rather than kill them. Which is fair, because like I do understand that. Like, what if they catch us with them? What if they catch us without them?
Yep.
I do get
They
that.
just go, yonk.
I do get that. The 6 descend unknowingly into a large aviary used to house pteranodons. A small flock of them attacks the humans and flies away with Eric. Billy rescues Eric using Ben's parasail, but is swarmed and seemingly killed by the pteranodons. The rest escape the aviary, but leave the door unlocked because they're brilliant. They board a small barge outside the aviary and make their way downriver. Now, I will say that if you watch, she definitely locked it.
Yeah.
They literally just went, tension! but she definitely locked it. It's like the one thing Amanda does right. But I will praise the Pteranodon sequence.
Yeah.
The best
They
sequence
set it
in
up
the
so
film.
well.
I love it. Because you don't even know it's an observatory or an aviary right away. They set it up so perfectly that you don't know what's about to happen with the fog, the music, and the shake of the bridge. It was very reminiscent of the water.
Though the fog and everything confuses me a little because it starts pouring out and everything when it was just sunny out, running away from the Spinosaurus.
That's how tropical climates work.
Okay.
Yeah. I've spent enough time in Florida that I can vouch for that. There shouldn't be that much fog, but it elevates the scene, so I don't mind as much.
Maybe because they're going down a canyon, I guess, maybe. That would have been a massive staircase.
Yeah. I do very much love that scene. If I may be, we're in the heavy spoiler, so if I may be honest, there's only 2 scenes in this movie I really like. That's one of them.
Yeah.
Everything else, no matter what enjoyment I find in it, there's always something that ruins it. Like the raptor in the InGen compound. Why is it frozen? The Spinosaurus chase. Why is it frozen?
It's a cool shot. Why is it frozen?
That's why I'm worried about Dominion, as the director said he wanted his Giganotosaurus to be like the Joker. What does that mean? Is he gonna be frozen waiting for the dramatic moment? Like, what does that mean?
He's gonna start laughing hysterically.
I know. It's so weird.
It's a dang dinosaur, not a
It's an animal!
Joker.
So now we get to talk about, we're headed into the other sequence I really like. So we're not there yet, but we're headed there. So that night, they retrieve the ringing satellite phone from the feces of the Spinosaurus. I actually don't mind that scene. I understand if I were the Ceratosaurus walking up, they smell like Spinosaurus droppings. I'm just gonna, yeah, I'm not messing with.
As at
Not
this
messing with
point, they're trying to say that the Spinosaurus is like the apex predator on this island.
that. Yeah. Grant contacts Ellie and tells her where they are. As the Spinosaurus slams into the barge, fuel from the boat begins to leak into the water, and Grant ignites the fuel using a flare gun, and the Spinosaurus dashes for safety. I really love this sequence. The Spinosaurus
This was
fighting the
pretty
water.
great.
That's the
Yeah.
second one I really like. No complaints at all. Not even Amanda Kirby ruins this
Mm.
one.
Like, and seeing Paul climb up on the thing to try to distract
Hey,
it. That's the
hey.
scene that sticks out. Like,
Yeah.
this man, even though he's a civilian
Uh,
or
it,
that,
was, it was the father
it's yeah.
protecting his kid. Like, that was that coming out right there. Um, Afterward, the Kirbys finally reconcile as a family while Grant looks on. Because awkward fifth wheel or fourth wheel.
Yeah, he's just kind of there. Like,
Billy's not there to support him. Yadeski's not there. It's literally Grant and the happy family.
and he's just kind of like, okay, guys, have fun.
Yeah. The following morning, they at last arrive at the coast, but are surrounded by the raptor pack led by a matriarch. Grant uses the replica of raptor larynx to confuse the pack and present the eggs. Upon hearing distant helicopters, the raptors reclaim their unborn young and then disappear one by one into the jungle. Because that makes sense, we're just going to let them go for stealing our kids.
Yep.
That makes perfect sense, especially seeing how, sure, there's 2 eggs. There's at least 6 raptors in this scene, so 2 of them take the eggs, the other 4, it's 4 humans.
Yeah.
um,
Who knows?
The Navy and the Marine Corps land on the beach, summoned by Ellie in response to Grant's desperate call, and rescue Grant and the Kirbys. They discover that Billy, because heaven forbid we have real stakes and consequences, is alive and has been loaded onto the helicopter somehow, albeit in a seriously injured state. They watch the newly escaped Pteranodons fly alongside them as they leave the island, and they don't care that that is happening.
Like, why aren't they shooting the pteranodons? Why aren't they doing anything?
So, and then the movie ends, folks. Like, that's it. An hour and 35 minutes.
Yep.
And it ends. There is no act 3. It's just over. I have so many things I could say, and I'm gonna go through them. Don't just you wait. First off, Billy. We've seen the aviary. The only way for him to get out of there without using the door is to dive under the water and emerge the other side. Based on his injuries, there is no way that he could go down and come back up. There is no way for him to get to the coast, where evidently everyone's just arriving. So how did they get Billy? Timeline, it doesn't make sense. Physically, it doesn't make sense. It ruins all the stakes. I like Billy. He should have died.
Yeah. To make stakes real in this movie.
Because they killed off their red shirts halfway through the film. No one else dies the whole film.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Not even Billy. If Billy had died, it would have been bold. It would have been Eddie Carr dying in The Lost World. It would have been bold. So that there's that. The movie just ends. I don't think I could stress that enough. The movie just ends. It's as abrupt as the first film, except the first film had a completed story.
Yeah.
The army, the Marines, they all arrive, they get the humans out. That's fine. You could even remove Grant and the Kirbys from the story. Give us the army fighting the dinosaurs.
Yep.
Turn it into a Michael Bay film versus dinosaurs.
Bay. It's just, at least there would have been a nonsensical, fun action sequence afterwards. The movie just ends. And just as it's getting good, the Pteranodon sequence leads directly to the Spinosaurus sequence, which leads directly to the Raptors, which is weird, and I'm going to launch more complaints that way. And then it ends. It would be like if The Lost World ended with Roland Tembo tranking the Rex and then getting off the island. Would have been a stronger ending than the one we got, probably. But at least it feels like a completed story. This one just ends.
I don't know.
So the Raptors should have killed everybody in that moment.
Yep.
Blowing on a 3D printed larynx. Larynxes are not bones. They're not solid. You shouldn't have been able to get anything even remotely sound like something they would recognize, for one.
Mm-hmm.
For two, I hate this whole sequence.
Yeah.
The mom gives the eggs because it's mom to mom.
What?
Velociraptor does not care if you're a mother or a
No.
father. Watch The Lost World. Watch Jurassic Park 1. They don't care what your familial relationships are.
I hate you.
They change them from being animals, and it's dumb.
What else?
Oh, I could keep going.
I
Let
think
me
the
look at the
biggest
runtime
complaint
here.
I have is the freaking fence idea for the Spinosaurus.
So dumb. Why is
Makes
that his
zero
cage? Just put an airstrip in his cage. And in case anyone's wondering,
Here's
the
the other
spikes
thing.
are pointed the other way, so they're definitely in his cage.
Yeah. You know what else doesn't make sense? Is that whole entire plant is inside the cage.
I know. It makes zero sense. You just show them
Oh.
going through the fence before then. And fine. Maybe it broke out of another spot. But no, you only show it once?
Nowhere.
Let's just briefly talk about the logistics of Eric Kirby. As much as I don't mind the character, there's no way he survived 2 months on this island. In the middle of the Spinosaurus paddock.
It's not even a paddock. This is the only place it ever shows a fence.
Yeah.
What did they build it for like a mile and then went, okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Totally fine.
It's not even a full circle, we just built a little wall.
It's a suggestion, not a rule.
And it explains Zero how each family, each group gets on either side of the fence.
Yeah, how did they get through the fence? It's
I don't know.
this movie.
So, what's your favorite scene? What's your least favorite scene?
I'll get there. I'll get there. I'm still complaining through the spoilers here. Let's talk about the Spinosaurus a bit more.
Okay.
The whole premise of its existence is they wanted to go bigger and scarier than the Rex. That's the real
Did it
world.
not actually exist before?
What do you mean? Like,
Like-
Spinosaurus is a real dinosaur, but like,
Okay.
the reason why it was included is the creative crew, which did not include Spielberg, in case you were wondering the huge step in quality here. Their whole thing was they wanted bigger, scarier than the Rex. So the Spinosaurus aegypticus was chosen, and they just yada yada InGen creating it. Like, that wasn't on InGen's species list. No, it wasn't. But here's the freaking thing with that. That's illegal. You have to declare genetic operations. That's established this universe. You can't just make an apex predator and just not tell anybody about it.
No.
And then let's talk about the Lost World. It's the same compound. Therefore, Rex and Raptor territory. Where's the Spinosaurus paddock coming from? Did someone place it in the middle of all that and build on one line of fence for some reason? I don't think so. The movie is fun to watch when Amanda Kirby's not screaming,
Yeah.
but it's not a good movie in my opinion.
No.
Shockingly to me, I like it less than The Lost World. It's changed from when I was a kid. Roland Tembo kind of saves The Lost World, just single-handedly. This is just...
You know what? I'm now looking at a diagram of dinosaurs at the moment. The Spinosaurus is bigger than the Gigasaurus and the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah, it's like the largest land dinosaur predator they found or something like that.
Yeah, yet they make the Gigasaurus and the minion look like this ginormous freaking thing. It's way bigger than the Spinosaurus.
They'll do whatever they want to do, right?
Because
Okay,
some accuracy with dinosaurs.
so favorite scene. Mine is the spectacular Pteranodon sequence. It deserves to be in a better movie, straight up.
Yeah,
It was actually planned for the Lost World.
really.
Hence why the pterodactyls are randomly at the end.
Yeah.
It was planned for the Lost World. And I'm just thinking that sequence in the Lost World with the Lost World's characters, that would be even better than the one we got because we don't have Amanda Kirby. What about your favorite scene?
I don't know. Like, I do really like the Spinosaurus tape. Makes zero sense.
I also want to say for the record, I'm sorry for crapping on one of your favorite, if not your favorite, Jurassic Park film.
All right. I think it's the original scene with the Spinosaurus.
At
And
the
just
landing
this
strip.
is suspense with it. And then you like through the plane scene and it like rolling the plane and crushing it down and getting stuff inside.
Mm.
Because
the
it
prize
never
inside.
interacted with it anymore, so it's like, what is this? What am I doing?
The prize inside. The screaming Amanda Kirby.
Actually, I have a complaint about that scene. They all just run out of the plane.
Yeah.
And the Spinosaurus just kind of looked at them.
Yeah, he's like, oh, okay, bye. And then, no,
All
wait
right.
a minute, I'm supposed to be a predator. Least favorite scene for me, I complain about it a lot. It's like a 19-way tie. Whenever the dinosaur freezes for dramatic effect, the raptor and the Spinosaurus, and whenever Amanda Kirby screams. If this were a cinema sins video, I'd be doing a bonus round for Amanda Kirby screaming. Adding sins. I hate it.
I think it's that they landed on the stinking island. It made zero sense other than we're looking for you're mercenaries and bucking agent. Why are you landing on an island full of dinosaurs, of which it is illegal to land on too? They literally the Costa Rican government's like, this is a no-fly zone, and they just flip it off.
Yeah.
Shouldn't the government be trying to do something after that? Like, what?
I don't know, man. All right. I'm interested to hear the rating you give it. Overall rating.
I give it 75.
Wow. 54. I like it's not a bad watch. But I'd rather watch The Lost World, quite surprisingly, which had a 60 on my rating.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather watch The Lost World. Just put Roland Tempo's scenes on a loop, and I'll watch that for an hour and 30 minutes and have more fun than I did in Jurassic Park 3.
We still haven't gotten to my least favorite Jurassic Park movie.
Is it Fallen Kingdom?
Yeah, I hate that movie so much.
You and I are gonna have very similar opinions. I've only seen it once, but the one time I saw it, I was not impressed.
I've only seen it in theaters.
Same.
And I hated it.
Maybe we'll like it more the second time. I don't know.
Oh, that movie really struck a chord with anger inside me.
See, in my mind, it was close between The Lost World and Fallen Kingdom for my least favorite, but I gotta give it currently to Jurassic Park 3, but we'll see what happens with Fallen Kingdom. But next time, as we continue in the Jurassic period, we're going to what, before doing the reviews, was my second favorite Jurassic film, Jurassic World, starring Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard.
This movie was pretty good.
Who is hot. Anyway,
Yep.
we will see you next time in the Jurassic period. I've been Gaston.
I've been Jerryofdom.
Damn. And we'll see you in the movies. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.